objective, we're going to review our very first third grade science unit that we did at the beginning of the year, which is all about animals and their traits and how things change throughout time. So we're going to travel back to our first unit. Do you remember learning about fossils? Well, we learned that fossils provide evidence of organisms. Organisms just means any living thing that lived long ago and about the environments in which they lived. So on our map, we're traveling to the Sahara Desert, where scientists found fossil bones that look like this. Can you tell/remember what it is? It was a whale. So what does that tell us? Why is there a whale in the desert? Well, it's not that somebody suddenly placed the bones there. It's that this desert used to be an ocean. Now let's travel to the ocean, specifically the Gulf of Mexico. And what did scientists find there? They found fossilized wood. They found a forest. So that tells us that the Gulf of Mexico actually used to be a forest. So environments can change over time, and fossils are the ones that give us those clues of what those environments used to look like. Or how they found this fossil in the Arctic. And it looks like a type of plant, right? Specifically, a type of jungle fern. So, habitats can change over time, and it's fossils that clue us in to what those environments used to look like. It's pretty crazy. And you know what else fossils tell us? They tell us what certain animals looked like. So, for example, dinosaur fossils, after examining those, scientists came to the conclusion that dinosaurs look like lizards. So when you see images or movies, TV shows with dinosaurs and they look kind of how we imagine, just like big lizards, it's because looking at the dinosaur skulls and other bones from dinosaurs, they are more similar to other reptile bones. So this is the skull, and you can see the holes in the back of the head, similar to a reptile skull. Same when we found scientists found fossil eggs of dinosaurs. So the fact that dinosaurs hatch instead of being born clued scientists in about dinosaurs being more like reptiles. Same with dinosaur fossilized skin. It looks more scaly, like reptiles, not furry, like mammals. We also learned if we take a look at the teeth of a fossil, it can give us clues to what they ate. So, for example, this flat tooth skeleton probably ate plants, where the skeleton with the sharp teeth probably ate meats. I believe this one's a horse. This one's an alligator, if I remember. And when you look at the footprints fossilized footprints, that can tell us how fast that creature went or how slow that creature went. So farther apart footsteps was a faster creature than the footsteps of a creature closer together. Okay. Then we had a few weeks that just focused on selection. Do you guys remember that? So selection means we are choosing the traits. So sometimes this happens naturally and sometimes this happens on purpose. So if I have 2 iguanas that have iguana babies, no 2 of those babies are going to look alike. Even just like in people, even if there's identical twins, they're not exactly alike. Each one of these babies is going to look a little different. Some are bigger, some are smaller, some are more yellow, some are more blue than they are green. So if I wanted a blue iguana, I would have to choose the baby blue iguana and mate it with another iguana. And, over time, you select and select and select until you get a fully blue iguana. This is what we see in dogs, right? The original dog, we remember, was a Chinese dog. And then they selected and selected and selected until it was really tiny. You can do the same thing with any trait you like in a dog. You want it to be fluffy, you want it to be tall, etc., etc. Then we discussed traits that animals need for survival. One of those traits we talked about was how animals often travel in groups. And what are some reasons that animals might want to travel in groups, like these dolphins or these lions or these meerkats or these birds? You might want to travel in groups for protection, to find food, either if you're a prey or a predator, or maybe for warmth. You travel in groups for warmth. So you could summarize the 3 reasons for animals who would want to stay in groups for survival: protection, food, and environmental changes. Speaking of environments and traits, do you remember when we learned about Scott Kelly, the astronaut who spent a year in space? And when he spent a year in space, 3 of his traits were affected: his strength, his balance, and his height. So because gravity is different in space than it is on Earth, his body had to adjust to his new environment, and he physically changed. So on space, he was less strong, and his spine even expanded to be taller. The squishy pads in his spine expanded. He was taller in space. And we learned from him that traits can change based on the environment you live in and the experiences that you have. So that was our first unit at the beginning of the year in review. Isn't it crazy how much you've learned